If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson with a number.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking cheap, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live.
Mic check. Good day, Israel. Good day. Good evening. Whenever y'all happen to see this. Today is True Nation World History, and we're going over Samuel, the prophet Samuel, or Samuel the Seer. So I want to take you guys to the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, actually. And before we start, let me see, y'all. Yeah, before we start, just a little backdrop. So 1 Samuel, this takes place right after, pretty much major-wise, historically, the book of Judges. So this is a time period in Israel where there was no king, and there was just, judges. I'll explain the difference between the two a little bit later in the lesson too. But Samuel, at this point in time, he was the judge, or was becoming the judge of Israel, but the way of his birth happened to be like this. So he was actually the son of an Ephraimite. So that would make Samuel, because of territory, an Ephraimite, a northern kingdom Israelite. 1 Samuel 1:1. Now there was a certain man of Ramoth Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephratite. So this is the lineage that we're dealing with right here, some Ephratites. Basically, without going too much detailed into it, this man named Elkanah, that was his name. Elkanah had two wives. He had two wives. One was more so beloved than the other, but the beloved wife could not bear children at all. So every year that they would go up to worship before the Most High, when they came together, the wife Hannah, which was the beloved wife, and the other wife Peninnah, which was the second wife, but not as beloved by Elkanah, by him, but she would always basically vex Hannah. And the scriptures say this as well too. Verse 5 in 1 Samuel. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah. But the Lord has shut up her womb. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord has shut up her womb. So, it's that polygynous, jealousy and rivalry, things just not being done in love, in a relationship where a man has to take care of two people, two wives actually. So one was against the other. And Hannah, that upset her. And upset her so bad that the Most High had shut up her womb, that she cried out to him, as you read throughout the history, in this first chapter. So she cries out to the Most High. And in that crying out, she actually declares a vow, saying that, look, Most High, if you, for once, finally, give me some kids, give me children, I'll dedicate that one, the first one, to you, so that he can serve you in the temple. Well, not necessarily the temple, the tabernacle at this point in time, but he'll serve you and be among your Levites and, the priests and such like that, so he can learn to be a righteous, dedicated man for you if you give me this son. So that was her request to the Most High. And he granted her request. Verse 20 in chapter 1. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time had come about, after Hannah had conceived and prayed, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of the Lord. So that's what every Hebrew name has a particular meaning to it. That's what Samuel means, that she asked him. And because she asked him, she's now going to leave him amongst the priests, some of the Levites, to grow and raise him and teach him, as we're soon to be called one of the prophets. Because, again, he wasn't a Levite. He was from the tribe of Ephraim. So he couldn't do the same things, tasks and such, as a Levite would do. But again, he was dedicated to the Most High. Verse 27. For this child I prayed, and the Lord had given me my petition which I asked him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord, as long as he liveth. He shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. So it's one of those things where it's like the Most High, man, when you cry out to the Most High enough in your righteousness, he'll listen to your prayer, he'll listen to your prayer. And even more so when your prayer is involved with, like, man, strike up a deal. She essentially striked up a deal with the Most High to being like, look, I want kids so bad that when I do have one, he's for you. I'm a dedicated for you. And then that happened. And it's not like the Most High left her barren. He gave her more kids later, actually. You read in verse 21 of chapter 2, it says, the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the child Samuel grew before the Lord. So she even got, more kids after that, in the years to come, while honoring her vow to the Most High to just to have kids, have a kid, open her womb and dedicate it, that first fruit to the Most High. And this is Samuel's conception. A child, a man born and dedicated for the Lord. So that the Lord, Yahweh, is clearly going to use him for something special, something phenomenal, as we keep reading on with this story, with this history, rather, even this lesson for us. So, Samuel, there's a lot of things that happen along with Samuel. For instance, Samuel was given to a particular, let me read this for you. 1 Samuel 2 and verse 11. And Elkanah went to Ramah to his house, and the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli, the priest. So Elkanah, Samuel's actual father, and Hannah, her mother, they leave him there with Eli, the priest. Again, this is the priest of the day, the high priest of the day, serving within the tabernacle. And the thing about this priest, he wasn't doing what he needed to do and supposed to do as far as taking care of his own seed, his own kids. His kids were basically, sinning within the congregation, in particular, taking the Lord's portion of sacrifices for their own, and even laying with the women at the doors of the tent, it says. So they was, taking the Most High sacrifices and fornicating with the women and the people, during the time at the day. So this was something that obviously the Most High did not like this. But the thing about Eli, the priest, the high priest, was he wasn't correcting the matter, at least not how he should have. He more than likely, not even more than likely, it says that, hey, I've been hearing, my sons, y'all been doing some stuff, sending around, the camp. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not good. That's not cool. But he didn't actually perform, as it said, proper judgment for his own sons. As a matter of fact, they just kept basically wooing him with more with what offerings and sacrifice to the Most High. One of those things again where it's like, okay, if I mess up, if I sin, I'm gonna just keep giving sacrifices and offerings to the Most High, because these are the ordinances that he had, kind of like loophole it. But the thing about that, the Most High never respects those things. He never respects offerings when you've been doing wrong. You see that with Cain. Cain himself, he was the first example. Most High said, come present your offerings before me. He didn't like Cain's sacrifice. The Most High did not like Eli's son's sacrifices either. Excuse me. He didn't like them. So this is, going alongside with Samuel growing up, and a close by proximity. This is going on while Eli is teaching him as well, to the best of his ability. And obviously Samuel, as a young kid, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's learning, and he's waxing stronger and stronger as he gets older. 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 18. But Samuel, this is, adjacently, rather than his sons, Eli's sons, but Samuel ministered before the Lord, being a child, girded with a linen ephod. So kind of like not a real one, but like kind of like a not but make believe, but like a copy. Like, you give, the what you're inspired by. It's not the real thing, but it's like a toy. That's what he was basically wearing. Moreover, his mother made him a little coat and brought it to him from year to year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. So, his mother, birth mother, surrogate mother, not surrogate, birth mother, came to visit him still, but, she still had to leave because he was dedicated. So we jump into chapter 3. The rest of chapter 2 is basically a prophecy against Eli and his sons, that a prophet comes to him basically like, hey, you're not doing your business, so in due time, in due season, these things are going to come upon your house. Basically, you're going to be removed, and you're replaced, and your whole household is going to be basically destroyed. There's not going to be a man left upon it anymore. That was the prophecy of the prophet, the man of God that came to Eli, that was raising Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 1. Continuing the story. And the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli. So he served him. And the word of the Lord Yahweh was precious in those days. There was no open vision. And that's basically saying that no one was in direct communication with the Most High. Everyone only had, the law as it was, written, and the history of what's happened so far. But no one at this point in time, especially after the man of God talking to Eli, no one was able to have that open vision or speaking with the Most High. And if you know about the Most High, he speaks to our people in a visual, in a vision type of way. Think about, like dreams or even states of trance, like that Jacob had experienced, when he was on the run from Esau, and sleeping at a particular place in the wilderness. He had a dream. Other righteous forefathers, they sometimes just fall into states of trance, like midday, like awake. They have a vision. John the Revelator in the book of Revelations is a perfect example. But that's how the Most High usually deals with people, as far as what that says, an open vision. And then it's left to that person to interpret it correctly or not. Verse 2. And it came to pass at that time, when Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And ere the lamp of God went out in the temple, that's saying, and before the lamp went out in the temple, because again, the candlestick, the menorah, had to always be constantly lit. The temple of the Lord, where the ark was, Samuel was laid down to sleep. So Samuel was literally laid down in the part of the tabernacle where the menorah was. So he was like, if you know how the division of the tabernacle and even the temple, it's basically like 3 sections. It's like the outer court, the inner court, and then like the Holy of Holies, pretty much. You know, that's how it goes. So he was like not in the Holy of Holies, but he was really close. He was by the menorah. He was by the menorah, the candlestick, one of them at least. And Samuel was laid down to sleep, that the Lord, Yahweh, called Samuel, and he answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Hey, here I am, for thou callest me." And he said, "I didn't call you, I calledst thou not. Go lie down again." And he went to lay down. And the Lord called yet again, "Samuel." And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for thou didst call me." And he answered, "I did not call you, my son. Go lay down again." Verse 7, now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. You know, he did not know him like that. You know, he obviously was taught and learned in what was righteous in the law and who the Israelites' God is, but he didn't know the Lord like that. Like, now the Lord is like speaking to him, like almost to the point where it's like, hey, am I tripping right now? Or is something talking to me? That's what Samuel was going through. So yeah, Samuel did not yet know the Lord, neither was the word of the Lord yet revealed unto him. So this is a new thing. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time, and he arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for thou didst call me." And Eli then perceived, like okay, now he's like putting two and together, like this. Okay, he might be talking to the Most High. Eli then perceived that the Lord had called the child. And so Eli therefore said unto Samuel, "Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he call thee, that thou shalt say, Speak, Lord, or speak, Yahweh, for thy servant heareth." So Samuel went and lay down in his place. And the Lord came and stood and called as at other times, and Samuel, Samuel. And then Samuel answered, "Speak, for thy servant heareth." Man, verse 11. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of every one that heareth it shall tingle. And that day I will perform against Eli all the things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end." So again, the Most High is making it known to Samuel that, hey, Eli, you know, your father figure, I got to bring destruction. Not a sword destruction, but I got to bring, a destruction to his house, which is himself and his two sons, because they are messing up the whole congregation of Israel by the sins that they're doing and disrespecting Yahweh himself. Sons of Belial, as it's called. Verse 14, "Therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be purged with sacrifice nor offering forever." So again, it was one of those things where it's like they thought that they can purge their own iniquity with sacrifices and offerings. It was like, no, the Most High Ben said, well, actually further in this book, that the Most High says obedience is better than sacrifice. That's what the Most High wants. He wants you to be obedient to his ways, his laws, his customs, and the way that he wants to be loved, which is, don't take my offerings that belong to me. Like, that's not for you. It's for the Most High. But again, that's what Eli's sons was doing. And Eli himself was not doing too much about it. It was like a slap on the wrist when it actually required a more severe judgment. Verse 15, "And Samuel lay until the morning and opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And Samuel feared to show Eli the vision." So yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, dang, you don't want to, some people say, bite the hand that feeds you. You don't want to, give bad news to somebody that, you're dependent on, that you care about, that you love so much. So he's like afraid, even though it's like the Most High, the Lord, was the one that told him it. But like, you still kind of have like these apprehensions about, someone that cares for you and takes care of you, and revealing such like grave news to them. So he was scared, he was conflicted. But the Eli is basically like, look, I know the Most High is talking to you. Tell me everything that he said, and don't hold nothing back. Like, don't hold nothing back. Tell me what he told you. So then, Samuel gets over his fear, and Eli is just like, all right, that's the Lord's will. I'm gonna have to accept it. So he knew basically what was to come to pass, as far as what the man of God said, and now what his I guess you would say his foster kid Samuel, telling him basically the same thing. So he basically is saying, verse 18, and Samuel told him every whit and hid nothing from him. And Eli said, it is the Lord. Let him do what seemeth good. So he knew what was going down. So later on in this point, it gives you, in the history rather, it lets you know that Israel was basically at odds with the Philistines. This is why a little bit later on in the chapter and in these books, 1st and 2nd Samuel, we have so much dealings with the Philistines because they were the main adversaries during this prophet, and Nathan and afterwards and stuff like that. So yeah, so you have a whole history in chapter 4, 5, and 6 of the Philistines coming against our people because, again, we were in sin, and they actually taking the Ark of the Covenant, away from us for a couple seasons, a good 7 months, actually, that the Ark was missing. So you guys can get into these couple chapters, 4, 5, 6, a little bit of 7, sometime on your own, because again, it doesn't really deal too much with Samuel. This is just what was going on in the history and the judgment that Israel had to basically deal with, without having a righteous person around because of, the leadership at that time. Samuel not being in leadership yet, but being trained to be so. So again, during the time with these Philistines, Samuel was already an adult. He wasn't a kid anymore. He already had gotten used to the voice of the Lord. So, chapter 7, we see that the ark is returned back within a particular land in Israel, Kirjathaim, I believe it says, Kirjath-Jearim. That's where the ark was left off. But the Philistines are still, hostile. So now, Samuel's a respected man. He's respected. He's understood to be a prophet. He's definitely, raised after Eli. And, Eli at this point in time actually had perished himself. When he first learned that the ark got stolen, Eli and his sons died in war, but Eli died out of shock that the ark got stolen, So this is like within a 7-month period. So now there's no real leader, there's no high priest. Everybody's kind of just wrought in confusion, but there's still hope in Samuel, as Samuel has continued to grow. So people are looking up to Samuel, in this battle with the Philistines. So this is what's going on right now. 1 Samuel chapter 7 and verse 8. Verse 7. And when the Philistines heard that the children of Israel were gathered in Mizpah, the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. And when the children of Israel heard it, they were afraid of the Philistines. Verse 8. And the children of Israel said to Samuel, cease not to cry unto the Lord our God for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Philistines. So Samuel took a suckling lamb and offered it for a burnt offering holy unto the Lord. And Samuel cried unto the Lord for Israel, and the Lord heard him. So again, Samuel was that guy. The Most High only heard him. The rest of the children of Israel was like, hey, Samuel, you cry to the Most High for us, on behalf of us, like on some like representative, like some Republican type ish. So Samuel is, hearts with the people. So he is crying out for the people, and the Most High only heard him. The Most High wasn't hearing at this particular moment the rest of the children of Israel. So he had to do it for him. But the Most High heard. And again, this is because the Philistines had came up and was about to go to war with them. Israel's like, man, we're not trying to lose any more people. The Most High just killed like 50,000 plus of us for the inhabitants of Kirjath-Jearim for opening the ark. Like, we're just distraught. We need We need a holy and righteous man to kind of just to lead us to this point. So that was Samuel. Verse 10. And as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel. But the Lord, Yahweh, thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Israel. So you know what comes with thunder, right? Lightning. The Most High now is literally sending lightning bolts against the armies of the Philistines to light them up and destroy them. So you can only imagine Samuel crying out to the Most High, the Philistines coming near, and now the Most High using his battle weapon, lightning strikes. Burnt to a crisp. I don't know how many Philistines, but clearly where the children of Israel are now encouraged and now begin chasing the remnant, what's left of these Philistines. And this is the beauty of having the Most High fight for us. You know, this has happened so many times, from Gideon to, I believe, one instance with Saul, David, a lot of our forefathers. You know, anytime we had the Most High fighting for us on our side, it was basically a wrap. You know, we just cleaned up right after, you know, being the battle axes that we needed to be at that point in time. But let me read that for you. And they were smitten before Israel by the thundering. Verse 11, and the men of Israel went out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines and smote them until they came to Beth-kar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shin and called the name of it Ebenezer, saying, hitherto hath the Lord helped us. And surely he did with those thunder strikes, with those lightning strikes. That's not normal. I mean, it's normal because the Most High does it, but like it's not normal when you're in another nation and you thinking this is about to be an easy battle or a fair battle, and you got the elements against you. That's just how the Most High rolls. That's how he promised us that he would work with us. He's got this whole earth under control when it comes to war and anything else. 13. So the Philistines were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Israel, and the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the day of Samuel. So, man, when Samuel was alive and ruling, judging, he said, the Most High said, yeah, they're staying back. They're not getting past this border here. Normally, you guys usually get cities taken away from you, but even at this point, I'm going to restore some cities back to you, and my hands are going to be against them because y'all have Samuel that y'all is taking the charge and the helm, and y'all listening to him. Y'all repenting. Y'all listening to me again, thanks to Samuel. Verse 14. And the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron even to Gath, and the coast thereof did Israel deliver out of the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites, even peace between another nation, the Amorites, not Philistines, but a different one. And Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. And this is where we're going to get the difference between judging and kinging in a minute. He judged Israel all the days of his life. And he went from year to year in circuit to Bethel and to Gilgal and the Mizpah, and judged Israel in all those places. So, man, the way that he would judge, he would go basically from a particular city to particular city and do what he had to do. And his home was in a different place, but he said year by year, he was basically staying somewhere else in order to make the proper judgments upon Israel, you know, in righteousness. Verse 17. And his return was to Ramah, for there was his house, and there he judged Israel, and there he built an altar unto the Lord. So that's where he did the sacrifices at, his own sacrifices. Verse 8. And it came to, chapter 8 and verse 1. And it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. So he's trying to pass the torch. But we got a little problem. Just like Eli and his sons that was messing up, Samuel's sons began messing up. Verse 2. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, not in Samuel's ways, not in the Most High's ways, but turned aside after lucre and took bribes and perverted judgment. So a little bit different than what Eli's sons were doing. These particular sons of Samuel were sinning and iniquitying by way of finances and cash. They wanted riches, so they took bribes from the people, which is basically like, hey, I'm gonna give you this if excuse me, if you forgive me of such and such so and so sin. So they were like, yeah, I'm with it. So they, the scriptures say, thou shalt not accept a gift. A gift blinded the heart. So that's basically what a bribe is, not just a gift like, some charity on some like, love, like, oh, I want to share this with you. No strings attached. These gifts, these bribes has strings attached. And the strings attached was, I'm going to keep doing me, which is being in iniquity. And I'm going to just give this to you and you just be quiet. You be quiet about it. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and be quiet about it too. That's what his sons was allowing, for gain, for financial gain. That's what lucre means. Lucre, bribes, and again, that all perverts judgment. Certain judgments had to come to pass for certain actions. But when you're not doing that, it's now perverted judgment. Extreme example, but a death penalty for stealing. Or a jail sentence for adultery, such like that. Those aren't the judgments lined up in the laws that we're supposed to be doing. So you're bending and you're twisting and distorting the judgment aspect of the law, and that's not right. That wasn't right to do. So because of that, the elders in Israel are now like, hey, man, you've been judging us for a long time, Samuel. And you put your sons in place, but guess what? They're doing wrong. And this is starting to remind us of Eli and his sons. This isn't working out. This whole, being a judge of Israel isn't working out because guess what? No one's judging correct. And Samuel's like, I've been judging right. Shoot, they're my sons. That's not about me. But this is what the people was saying. Verse 5 in chapter 8. And said unto him the people, behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. So now Samuel's like what? A king? I'm the judge. We're supposed to be the right judges. You don't want a king. You know what a king does? They didn't know what a king does, but Samuel's about to explain it to them. Verse 6, but the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people, and all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. So again, understand this. Samuel was the intermediary. Again, he was the one that received the vision or the voice of the Most High. Remember, no one else in the temple, in the tabernacle at that time with Eli was able to hear the voice of the Lord other than Samuel. He was the only one that was getting that. Some might call that mental schizophrenic, but that's just the way. In the bright side of it, that's how the Most High works. On the evil, dark side, schizophrenia, people are really hearing these thoughts and these voices, from evil things, demons and such like that, and unclean spirits. But again, that can be flipped in righteousness for a prophet or a seer so they can hear the voice of the Lord, and his messengers, his angels, such like that, all that. So don't think it's far-fetched. But again, that was Samuel's position to judge. Not because of his own right, but because the Most High was speaking through him, through visions, and he just published the word. Now the people are like, we don't want that. We don't want you. We don't want that. We definitely don't want your sons. We just want a king now. A king which is basically doesn't have the same type of connection to the Lord, to the Most High, but is an authority and a power regardless, and someone that we can fear. We're tired of fearing you and your sons, Samuel, which is basically saying we're tired of fearing the Lord directly. Let us fear a mighty man, a king. So Samuel's like, that's dumb. But the Most High is like, give them what they want, but just explain to them what that's going to be like. Verse 9. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people, and asked him of the people that asked him of a king. And this is what he told of them. And this is the main difference between a judge or a prophet that's a judge and a king. And he said to them, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him in captains over thousands, and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. He'll take your daughters to be confectionaries and to be cooks and bakers. He'll take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, to give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and give of his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maidservants. He will take, your men servants and maidservants, and your goodliest young men and your asses, and put them to his work. And he will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which he shall have chosen you. And the Lord will not hear you in that day. So basically, the manner and the nature of a king is, I'm a rule over you and judge. Well, I'm gonna judge you, but I'm also going to rule over you. Basically, like I'm about to be your boss. Like you're basically Israel now. Y'all work for me. You guys work for me. So that's why I'm taking all these things. The tenth of everything, and let alone Israel already had to pay tenths to the Levites anyway. Now they're paying an extra tenth to the king. So it's like we got two things going on. That's the nature of a king, basically, period. And that's the nature of the king that the Most High gave to Israel. So it's like now on a financial level and even on a work level, they have more burdens because, hey, someone's got to get drafted. The same way that that in America here, I've never known anybody that's gotten drafted, but like America wants to draft people and you refuse, and you're in a worldly state of mind, you can go to jail basically or get punished for refusing. That's just like the same mentality that we have here. If you're not now supporting the king that you guys asked for, the king has all rights and liberty to now judge you because you're not doing something that the Most High appointed. And when you see further kings, later on, like David and some of the other descendants of David, not listening to the king was a serious offense. Like basically it was a death sentence. It was a death sentence to not want to hearken and listen to the king's commands. And that's what the people asked for. And again, the people will begin to cry out. Now, as opposed to Samuel, a judge and a prophet from the Most High, he says it himself too. I never took any of those things from you. I'm going to prove that for you guys too. I'm going to prove that for you guys. 1 Samuel chapter 12 and verse 1. I'm going to read from there. And Samuel said to all Israel, behold, I have hearkened unto your voice and all that you have asked me, and have made a king over you. And now behold, the king walketh before you, and I am old and gray-headed. And behold, my sons are with you, and I walked before you from my childhood unto this day. Behold, here I am, witness against me before the Lord and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose ass have I taken? Or whom have I defrauded? Or whom have I oppressed? Or of whose hand have I received any bribe to blind my eyes therewith? And I will restore it to you. And they said, thou hast not defrauded us, nor oppressed us, neither hast thou taken aught of any man's hand. And that's the important part right there. Neither hast thou taken aught of any man's hand. I want to give you a fast forward example of where we see that in the time of Christ, rather after Christ, but in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 19. I want to read this for you. This is how Paul operated. This is how, a man who studied the Bible too, this is how he's seen things. 1 Corinthians 9 and 18. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 18. What is my reward then? Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. So when you read this chapter, this chapter, in the gospel, you see that Paul is basically like, look, I have all ability and all liberty to me to take and require from you just for preaching the gospel, for being an apostle, teaching the correct doctrine to you guys. But Paul is like, no, this is the work of the Lord. I'm not going to charge you of anything. I'm going to clear that up too in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 8 through 12. Give me a second. No, it's been a minute, but just come through. All right, I got one here. Gonna have my reader joining me in a second, but 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, and I'm gonna start from verse 8. So again, talking about the point of not requiring, the goods of the people for doing the work of the Lord. Okay. Yeah, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 8 through 12.
This is the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 3 and verse 8. Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught, but wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you.
So this is the same thing that Samuel was explaining to the people. Like, look, did I ever, charge you guys for doing the service of the Lord? And the people are like, yeah, no, you never did that. So he's letting them know, like, well, look, when you ask for a king, this is what you asked for. The king is now going to charge you for doing judgment and trying to take care of you. And again, you guys are going to have complaints, but don't have complaints because this is what you asked for, rather than allowing me to be a judge and a direct conduit to the Most High. You didn't want that. But continue reading that, Thessalonians.
Verse 9, not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us.
That's the example. We follow people like Paul and Samuel because they were directly doing what the word of the Lord was. That wasn't the case when you read further on in Samuel, for Saul, even on the occasions, David's an exception. For sure, David was doing the word of the Lord. But all the other kings, after him, even Solomon, they were basically took things upon for themselves. But again, the prophet or the seer wasn't operating like that. You can read on.
Verse 10, for even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. Now them that are such we command and exhort our Lord Hamashiach Yahushai, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread.
And that's basically, again, what Samuel was doing. Samuel wasn't trying to be loud and boisterous, and the Most High provided for him. Just like Christ said, hey, aren't you more precious than the birds and the ravens? I feed them, and I get them, bread in their due season. Samuel didn't have to go up to people and be like, hey, I'm judging, you for this. You should pay me, for making the judgments for the Lord. That's not how he operated. The king, however, the kings would. And that's why Samuel gave him all those stipulations. So we're going back to 1 Samuel chapter 9. We're going to jump around since we moving as we moving. So yeah, First Samuel chapter 9. So basically, that's where we were at with the people at this time. So they're asking for a king, and as you know, the very first king over all Israel. And I'm saying all Israel, not just a section. Like Abimelech in the Book of Judges. The first king over all Israel was the Benjamite Saul. So Samuel is in the process to anointing him. But there's a particular verse in chapter 9 that I want to break down for you guys. It's 1 Samuel chapter 9 and verse 9, if you were to read that.
Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of Yahweh, thus he spake, Come, and let us go to the Seer. For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer.
So basically, they're one and the same. But when you look into the Hebrew words, a seer comes from H7203, and that's Roe. I believe there's a particular artist within Israel with that name. But that word actually means vision. So again, like I mentioned earlier, people that were considered seers, they had direct visions from the Most High, whether through dreams or whether through, daylight hallucinations. They received that vision. And now the only difference between what a seer and a prophet is now able to express those visions in words to other people. That's what the word prophet means. Prophet comes from the word H5030, and it means nabi, and it means a spokesman or a speaker. So Samuel was both a seer and a prophet because the Most High was giving him the visions, and now Samuel was able to express those visions to the people by saying, "Thus saith the Lord," accurately and not inaccurately. So that's the main difference between the words and why it was changed. Obviously, maybe some people may have been seers and they never said anything. They just kept it to themselves. But a prophet is now expressing the visions, the images that the Most High is giving them, which is, to execute his will upon the earth. So Samuel is now about to anoint King Saul. King Saul is chosen from amongst the people from the tribe of Benjamin, and he is anointed. This is part of what Samuel did in his time. 1 Samuel chapter 10 and verse 1.
Then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, Is it not because the Lord have anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance?
That's it. So now that's an important word. So this is the important thing about the king too. Again, Samuel was in the business of anointing people to be captains. But again, remember what we read about just before. The Most High, when he was the king or when he was the captain, he was literally sending thunderbolts against the Philistines, And that's not the first time when you read in the history, the Most High using the elements, whatever types, wind, fire, hail. The Most High uses the elements as army. But because Israel wanted a king, now Israel has to anoint, or rather Samuel has to anoint Saul to be a king, and now we have men to go fight the battles for us instead of the Most High taking that first charge. That's the main difference, and that's why Saul was a captain or a king. So this is what the people asked for, and Saul was the first product of it. So this lesson isn't about Saul, so we're not going to go too much into the details with chapter 11 and 12, because Samuel's not really mentioned too much, doing too much within those chapters. It's just the rise and the plateau of King Saul, and then the re-rise of David during that time. So we're going to jump to, actually we're going to get to chapter 15. So again, the plateau aspect of King Saul. Chapter 15 and verse 1.
Samuel also said unto Saul, The Lord sent me to anoint thee to be a king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
So that was the instruction, the vision from the Lord that he gave to Samuel for Saul. But Saul, you know, when you check out another lesson, he didn't complete that. He didn't complete that order. He did 80% of it, 90% of it, but he didn't do 100% of the word of the Lord. And that's what pretty much led to the Lord telling Samuel, you gotta de-anoint him. He's not listening. He's not listening to you. He's not listening to me. He can't work. So Samuel again was in the business of anointing kings and taking anointing away, and then anointing new kings. So, 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 27. We can start from there.
And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent. And Samuel said unto him, the Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and hath given it to a neighbor of thine, that is better than thou. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now, I pray thee, before the elders of my people and before Israel, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord thy God.
So that was basically the second time where Samuel's telling Saul, the kingdom's not yours anymore, bro. You gotta figure something out. I'm about to re-anoint somebody else. And this is where David, you know, as a young shepherd, comes in. Chapter 16, you could start from verse 12.
And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he.
So again, this is David, and just like, again, the Most High is literally like giving this dude daylight, not even hallucinations, but daylight, you know, sounds. He's hearing things that people cannot hear, and that's what a seer is supposed to be doing. He has that direct connection to the Most High. So the Most High is speaking to him in the ear like a little walkie-talkie, no one else can hear, and it's like, all right, this is what we're doing right here. David anointed. You can read on with that.
Then, verse 13, then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah.
So job done. Anointed, not anointed, anointed. That was the job of Samuel. Complete subservience, complete ministering to the Lord himself. That was his role. So now we can go to 1 Samuel chapter 19 and verse 18. So again, a lot of time and this point in time has passed. David is, within the household of Saul. Saul, is still king, but not anointed by the Holy Spirit. So a lot of history is transpiring that Samuel isn't particularly, partaking in until this particular point in time when David has actually begun to be on the run from Saul. This is a somewhat of a funny instance with a run-in with Saul, actually, and David. 1 Samuel, again, chapter 19, you can read from verse 18.
So David fled and escaped and came to Samuel to Ramah and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naioth. Mm-hmm. And it was told Saul, saying, behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. And Saul sent messengers to take David. And when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as appointed over them, the spirit of Yahweh was upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied.
So basically, what you have going on here is Saul is sending people to go, attend to David, and knowing that Samuel was there and the type of man that Samuel was, but Saul is sending them anyway. And it's like as soon as they pass a specific threshold or barrier, their thoughts and the people that Saul had sent, their thoughts, their intentions immediately changed. It's like they stepped into a pool of water. It's like it's a different world. They stepped in a certain a line in the sand, and now they started prophesying. The Spirit of the Lord fell upon them because they went too close to where Samuel and David, the anointed, were. So their whole mission got changed up. So that was the first time that Saul had sent, men to them. He does it again. Read on. Verse 21.
Verse 20. I just read 21.
No, you didn't.
Verse 21. When it was told Saul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. And Saul sent messengers again the third time, and they prophesied also.
So it's the same thing keeps happening over and over. Their intentions get changed immediately. They begin prophesying instead of sending, messengers of death. Come with me, so Saul can kill you. Their whole game changed at that point. So now Saul himself is about to step in and like, man, what's going on? I want to see what's happening. And we see what's going on right here. Read on.
Then, verse 22. Then went he also to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Succoth. And he asked and said, where are Samuel and David? And one said, behold, they be at Naoth in Ramah. And he went thither to Naoth in Ramah. And the Spirit of Yahweh was upon him also, and he went on and prophesied until he came to Naoth in Ramah. And he stripped off his clothes also, and prophesied before Samuel in like manner, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they say, is Saul also among the prophets?
So Saul got hit with the Spirit of the Lord heavy, to the point to where he stripped off all of his clothes and was just like, it's similar to what you see happen to the king of Babylon in the book of Daniel, but he not as bad. He was prophesying to the Lord, but like he just got completely turned out of his mind, pretty much. Like goal, mission, canceled. The Most High's prophesying and word in his spirit is now upon him, but it doesn't say upon him because, as we know, Saul still wanted to get rid of David, at any opportunity. So that prophesying, that spirit still didn't last. So that's, another instance, with Saul and this point in time, the power and then the anointing that he had upon him and just his connection and his righteousness with the Most High, to do that, to change a man such like that for the moment. But, all good things come to an end. Samuel himself, he is a man and he does die. 1 Samuel chapter 25 and verse 1. So again, a lot of more history is in between these chapters, specifically dealing with David and Saul. So again, we don't need to necessarily get into that tonight for this lesson, or today rather.
25:1.
Yes.
1 Samuel chapter 25 and verse 1. And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran.
So, David honored, Samuel. He helped him at that point in time, a couple chapters back, probably a year or two back, actually, in the time frame. So, David's honoring him. But Samuel now officially is no longer the seer and the prophet in Israel at that time. Another man is going to come up who's not mentioned, but his name is Nathan. Nathan takes that mantle, but you read about him in 2 Samuel. But Samuel is dead, but that's not the end of the story, actually, because even in Samuel's death, he's still bringing judgment and prophesying for Israel and against Israel, in particular Saul. You can go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 28. And start from verse 6.
And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets.
So again, just like Samuel, you can get spoken to by the Most High in dreams or, daylight hallucinations, as they may call it. Also, the Urim and Thurim, which is basically something that you held in the breastplate, the priest, to basically give you like a yes or no answer, basically. Not gambling, but like you use chance. The Most High is basically manipulating chance to give you an answer in that regard. So that's what our people was doing back then. Through the Spirit of the Lord, or again, a prophet. But again, Samuel was dead at the time, so Saul's like, hey, I know what to do. Read on.
Verse 7. Then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor.
All right, so I just want to point this out to you. So Endor, where this woman is, where Saul is going, is not the same place where Samuel was died and buried at. Samuel died and was buried at Ramah. So if you can look on the Bible Atlas, Endor is like 28 miles north of where Ramah is. So I just want to paint this picture for you guys as far as what's going to happen in this particular scene. So it goes to the witch. There's a particular art of witchcraft that you should never, ever, ever in your life practice called necromancy, which is basically communication and the raising of the dead. This is what Saul decides to do by communicating with this witch. You could jump to you could jump to verse
12.
Yeah.
Verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, what form is he of? And she said, an old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground, and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and Yahweh is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do.
So again, to paint the picture of what's going on. This is not Samuel's corpse or his dead body risen from the grave speaking to him. This is a woman, one of two options. This woman is being possessed by the spirit of Samuel to speak through her, or at some point in time, they're now seeing his spirit manifest as like a ghost. Which of the two, I can't definitively tell you, because a lot of stuff, that people talk about, ghost hunting, stuff like that, there's a lot of, 50-50 whether it's real or not. But I can tell you that people can get possessed by spirits and be used as basically vessels. So that's a likely thing that was happening with this particular witch. That's why she had a familiar spirit, so that she could speak with that thing, into places of spirituality that we're not supposed to delve into ever, But that's to paint the picture for you guys. So now Samuel's like, why did you bring me up, man? Like, I was sleeping and resting with the Most High in my place, and you just messed up. So now I'm about to give you your last, basically your last judgment as a judge of Israel. I'm about to give you your last judgment for all Israel right now. You can read on.
Verse 16. Then said Samuel, wherefore then do thou ask of me, seeing that the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David, because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executed his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath thee Lord done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along on the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, and he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night.
So again, that was despite the stipulations, he did get the word, not what he wanted to hear, but he got that last prophecy from Samuel the seer saying, "You are done," and a lot of Israel is about to be done because the Philistines are coming upon y'all, mainly because of what you're deciding to do right now. So your kingship, your kingdom, taking the place of the Most High's captainship and fighting for people, you guys are going to fail. You and your whole, house is just one to fail. And that was Samuel's final word and his last prophecy against Israel and Saul himself, and from there, you don't hear about Samuel again, other than in places of remembrance, such that we're going to get into. Yes, the Apocrypha. If you read where you see highlighted with Samuel. So basically, this is in the book of Sirach, chapter
46 and verse 13.
Is a whole recap of Samuel's life, in 1 Samuel.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 46 and verse 13. Samuel, the prophet of the Lord, beloved of his Lord, established a kingdom and anointed princes over his people. By the law of the Lord he judged the congregation, and the Lord had respect unto Jacob. By his faithfulness he was found a true prophet, and by his words he was known to be faithful in vision. He called upon the mighty Lord when his enemies pressed upon him on every side, when he offered the sucking lamb. And the Lord thundered from heaven, and with a great noise made his voice to be heard. And he destroyed the rulers of the Tyrians and all the princes of the Philistines. And before his long sleep he made protestations in the sight of the Lord and his anointed. I have not taken any man's goods, so much as a shoe, and no man did accuse him. And after his death he prophesied and showed the king his end, and lifted up his voice from the earth in prophecy to blot out the wickedness of the people.
That's the legacy that Samuel left behind, obviously in the history, but even summarized more so in the book of Sirach. This is the legacy I want to just read for the prophets in general too, because Samuel was one of the lucky ones among many prophets, but not all prophets die as peacefully as Samuel. This is just the luck of the draw that we had to get with. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and you can start from verse 32. Talking about holy and righteous people in Israel, with the emphasis on the prophets.
Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 32. And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again.
Pause right there. So those are the highlights of being a prophet of the Most High. That's what you see, like Elijah, Samuel again himself, Gideon, Joshua, and Caleb. Those are the highlights of being, a prophet, and more than a prophet, really the leader of the people in Israel. But there's other prophets that are not as prominent, or even so much as leaders, that have to go through other things while still doing the same thing that Samuel did, which was giving the word of the Lord, but received a little bit differently. Read on. Verse 35.
Verse 35. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains, and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
So again, that's just the balance in the scriptures. That's how you read about how all the prophets were dealt with. You know, some have more glorious moments with the Most High, and some a little bit more rocky and shaky that tends to scare away, you know, those that are weak in the faith. You know, at bare minimum, you might want to be on the run, you know, in the caves and the mountains. But some people will find it hard pressed, you know, new in to be like, I'm about to get sawn asunder or stoned. Hell nah, you know. But those are things that we just have to train our minds. Those that are prophets, you know, and the disciples, train your minds and your spirits to go through and endure. And the Most High, like Stephen will, it says, you know, if I go through this, I've received my reward. If I die for the word of the Lord, you know, in righteousness, I've already received my reward once that death of the flesh happens. So Samuel the Seer, you know, definitely a big one. 2 whole books out of the Bible, long books too, long historical books named after him. You know, him not even being in the second book, but it is what it is. So that's going to conclude the lesson today. Samuel the Seer, the one with that direct connection to the Most High. And don't think that, you know, that's not going to happen again. Someone somewhere is going to have that connection, and the Most High is going to reveal all things. All right. Have a good one. Have a good night. Have a good day.